Hi there, welcome to Wine Searcher. Today I thought I'd take a look at a Pomerol. The one I picked out is Chateau Gazin, 2017. Normally at this stage I'd explain what the classification of a particular wine was, but actually of course in Pomerol there is no classification, so Chateau Gazin is what we have. I picked Gazin because to me Gazin is the sort of the archetype of a typical traditional Pomerol. I suppose over the last 40 years or so there's been quite a new wave of Pomerol wines that have caused a lot of excitement. They tend to be sort of high ripeness, very cleanly made with plentiful new vanilla oak. Gazin sticks more to the sort of the traditional sort of slightly earthy, meaty, truffly sort of nature of Pomerol, and I think generally they produce a very reliable wine. So Gazin, historic property, evidently it was the site of a hospital for people heading off on the pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela, so it's on the site of that. It's well sited on the plain of Pomerol. They have a topsoil of Gunsian gravel, but under that the classic Pomerol clays, so they have the blue clay that Pomerol's famous for, and they have some green clays, and these are all sort of quite heavy with iron oxide as well. So good terroir there. I think their closest neighbour is La Fleur Petrus, so they're close to Petrus, Vieux Chateau Certain, and then actually they're not far from the border with Saint-Emilion, so Cheval Blanc is not far away. Gazin is owned by the de Balancourt family. It came into that family through marriage in the middle of the 20th century. So it's had sort of quite stable ownership. In terms of the winemaking, it tends to be quite traditional. The wine is fermented in cement tanks in their separate varieties, and then ages for, I think this one, up to 18 months. I think the 2017 spent 15 months in oak, of which about half is normally new. In this case, I think 2017 it's 40% new oak, so barrique, smaller barrel. What else should I be telling you? Oh, the vineyard planted about 90% Merlot, with the balance being 7% Cabernet Sauvignon and 3% Cabernet Franc. In 2017, that the Cabernet Sauvignon wasn't ripe enough to go into the main wine, so this is 95% Merlot and 5% Cabernet Franc. Just to taste it, I suppose. We've got a beautiful colour here, quite a deep, dark colour, not quite opaque, ruby, almost black ruby. Smelling it, there's a lovely intensity. As I was expecting, it's earthy. Behind that earthiness, there's a meatiness, perhaps sort of truffle, mushroom notes as well. And underlying all that, there's sort of prune and plum, and I suppose some of the darker relatives of the plum, the sort of the dams and the bullace, that kind of, dark, rich fruit, but not the sort of the opulence and black cherries you might get with some more modern style Pomerols. Tasting it, again, the wine has all that sort of lovely ripe fruit. You are sort of starting to get a little bit of black cherry note, but there is that sort of plum, a redness to it, a rich redness, and a slightly overripe sort of pruny note as well. Again, underlying that, there's truffles, there's mushroom notes. I suppose there's a slight chocolatiness, lovely smooth texture. The tannins, fine, not particularly astringent, not particularly gripping, but they're definitely there. Maybe tiny sort of hints of cinnamon from the new oak aging. Where are we? They do talk about leafiness coming from the Cabernet Franc. I don't particularly find that. I can see Cabernet Franc in there, but to me it manifests itself more as a sort of a ripe, maybe slightly bitter black licorice towards the end there. The alcohol is slightly warming on the finish. It rounds it out. There's a lovely smoothness to it, as I say. The acidity is not particularly high, but it's enough to keep the fruit lively and quite exciting. In 2017, a lot of Pomerol was affected by frost, but maybe this shows that Gazin, with its terroir on the plateau, is one of the better areas of Pomerol in that it didn't suffer at all from frosts. So where other properties saw their yields reduced, Gazin made plenty of wine, and to them, they claim that maybe it's a way of countering the fact that vintages ending in a 7 traditionally haven't done very well in Bordeaux. If you think of vintages like sort of 87, 97, 2007, none of them were considered particularly great. In fact, you probably have to go back to 47 to find a really good vintage. But I think this is a lovely wine. I think possibly not a great wine, but capable of keeping it in your cellar for 10-15 years very happily, and I would think probably quite a good buy at the moment actually. So yes, give it a go. Chateau Gazin. Bye everybody.